Welcome to Bloomers in the Garden. I'm Len Schroeder, and the forsythias are finishing up blooming. Are you wondering if it's too late to put down a crabgrass preventer? We'll give you the answer in the first segment. Have you seen yellow blooms through your lawn? Pretty little yellow specks? Well, guess what? They're dandelions. Expect hundreds more to move in. We'll explain the best way to control dandelions and other broadleaf weeds in our second segment. Azaleas are coming into full bloom right now, and there is a reason why you should plant azaleas in your landscape. We'll discuss the benefits of this most beautiful landscape plant in our third segment. A listener texted Bloomers in the Garden Hotline who bought some seeds that were recommended to plant right in the soil, and that had her kind of perplexed. Hear all about it in our fourth segment. Professor Steve, look out on 95. Professor Steve is coming from Florida. He called to give us an update and a request. Hear all about it in our final segment. So stay tuned. We'll be back in the garden right after these messages.
Bloomers in the Garden is brought to you each week by Bloomers Home and Garden Center. Bloomers is an award-winning garden center just 20 minutes from Philadelphia. Bloomers has been providing expert advice turning brown thumbs green for over 30 years. At Bloomers, we want you to ask us every question, even if you think it's silly. We share information in a friendly, non-judgmental way that is meant to teach and spread the joy of gardening. Visit Bloomers Home and Garden Center in Washington Township, Gloucester County. For directions, go to bloomers.com, and we'll see you in the garden. Fertilome's Triple Action contains 70% neem oil and 0.25% pyrethrins as a concentrate and ready to spray. It is an insecticide, fungicide, and miticide labeled to use on vegetables, fruits, nuts, herbs, spices, and ornamentals. This organic OMRI-listed product controls a wide variety of insect pests and diseases, including aphids, scale, spider mites, whiteflies, rust, leaf spot, and powdery mildew. This insecticide is an all-in-one bottle that will cure just about any problem you may run into throughout the year. Fertilome's Triple Action has been helping gardeners across the country for years. Best to apply in late evening and early morning hours. Mix 1 ounce, which is equivalent to 2 tablespoons in a gallon of water. The best part is Triple Action may be used up to the day of harvest. So the next time you are visiting your favorite garden center, ask for Fertilome's Triple Action and expect to have the best-looking plants in the neighborhood.
You're listening to Bloomers in the Garden Radio. Listen anytime through your favorite podcast provider or see and hear us by subscribing to Bloomers YouTube channel. Bloomers in the Garden Radio is heard in Philadelphia and throughout the whole Delaware Valley every Saturday. First, wake up with us at 6 a.m. on WNWR The Word at 95.3 FM and 1540 AM. Tune in at 8 a.m. to Bloomers in the Garden Radio on Talk 860 WWDB. A rebroadcast of Bloomers in the Garden Radio is played each Saturday evening at 5 p.m. on The Word, 95.3 FM and 1540 AM. On Sunday at 8 a.m., we can be heard throughout the New York tri-state area on Classic Oldies, 1250 AM WMTR. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the garden. Welcome back to Bloomers in the Garden. So, forsythia always were the timing of when they bloom. You put down your crabgrass control, and it's a pre-emergent for most of them, and that if they're done blooming where you are, where they're finishing up here in southern New Jersey, Philadelphia area, that you may think that it's too late to put down a crabgrass control. It isn't, as long as you use the correct one. There are different active ingredients in the crabgrass control, and you should try to, it's a little nerdy to get to know what the active ingredient is, but this is one case where if it has something called dimension in it, like, for instance, the Jonathan Green, this is a mouthful, Jonathan Green's Crabgrass Preventer plus Green Up lawn fertilizer, it has that dimension in it, and dimension is a preventer, but it also will work on crabgrass that has germinated up to its 3-leaf stage. Three-leaf stage, what does that mean? Well, it means that it's a post-emergent for some of those crabgrass seeds that have germinated and you haven't put down that crabgrass yet. Now, three-leaf. Crabgrass, when it's fully grown, has 7 leaves. Okay? So as long as you get it down now, you're going to be able to prevent and kill some of that crabgrass that's already sprouted. Remember, it has to say that it has dimension in it. Now, Scott's, as far as I know, still is using pendimethalin. It is strictly a preventer. It doesn't have any residual post-emergent kill in it. Jonathan Green is the one that you should look for. Great fertilizer, great company, family-owned, headquartered in New Jersey. Woo! And that it has that post-emergent that you're looking for. Now, you got to remember, don't put crabgrass control down once. And the reason I say that is because there's crabgrass that is deep in the soil, and the seeds are deep in the soil. And what will happen is that you'll prevent them for about six weeks or so. But then the ones that are deep in the soil will start to germinate. And when they germinate, it's going to be late May. It could be even up into June that all of a sudden you say your crabgrass control didn't work. And that's one thing about it. You should never see your crabgrass control work because it should prevent crabgrass from ever coming up. But we have found that a double application, not at the same time, but once in the early spring, like right about now or any time, again, when the forsythias are blooming, then you do it again about 6 weeks later, then that will give it that control that you need. So you've got 12 weeks coverage, anywhere from 12 weeks to 2 months coverage 12 weeks. Let's see. So 12 weeks, yes. So almost, again, it will extend into July as long as you're putting it down in May or in June. And that will clean up your lawn with crabgrass, because the way that crabgrass grows is it comes up and it germinates right about now, and then it takes over your lawn, and then it dies. It doesn't come back as the same plant. It dies, and it dies after it drops its seed. So, and we've talked on this show, and those of you who are regular listeners know that everything gets pollinated, and it has a fruit, a seed, a nut, and that where it's the same with crabgrass. Now, it dies, but that seed that it dropped, guess what? It's grandkids. It's probably generations old, and it just keeps repeating that process. Now, if you eliminate the crabgrass from germinating, you can eliminate it for good. So you've got to make sure that you're putting the first application down sometime in late March to the second week in April. It's kind of pushing it. But then put it again about a month to 6 weeks later, so you prevent all the crabgrass from coming up. So don't cheapen out and think that it's once, because it's a battle. Trying to control it after it's sprouted is very hard. And it can even, if you do it wrong, you can even kill your good grass that you want. So make sure that you do a double application. And remember, a pre-emergent is an herbicide that you put down, and it prevents the seed from coming up through the soil. It kills it before it ever gets a chance to establish. A post-emergent for things like dandelions, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, that's a post-emergent after they're growing. So when they're actively growing, you use it. That's why it's so important to stop it before it gets a foothold, because it is harder to kill once it's up and growing compared to when you prevent it. So keep that in mind. So just because the forsythia are going out of bloom, it's not too late, but you've got to use a specific kind, and that has the active ingredient that is called dimension. and that will help you out and it'll control anything. So if you are a little late, because it's been cold, but the soil temperatures may have been warm enough to germinate that crabgrass. So get out there, get it done Saturday, and that you'll have good success. But you got to make sure you get enough so that you can do it in about a month. All right, we'll be back talking about dandelions in our next segment. Hi, this is Len Schroeder from Bloomers in the Garden. Do you have a landscape, garden, or plant question? If so, call or text us using the Bloomers in the Garden hotline. Dial 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. Don't be shy. We want to hear from you. Call or text us and let us know what problems you're facing. Let us know how we're doing. Call or text 609-685-1880. If we use your comment on the air, we'll send you a free Bloomers t-shirt. Call or text us at 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. And we'll see you in the garden. Wanting to up your game in the vegetable garden? With 90 years of organic gardening experience, the Espoma Company has you covered. Espoma Organic Garden Tone is not your average garden variety fertilizer. Garden Tone is especially blended for organic vegetable gardens. Its all-natural formula contains Biotone, a blend of organic ingredients that supplies essential nutrients for strong, healthy plants and mouth-watering vegetables. Its slow-release formula provides continuous feeding. The Biotone contained in Garden Tone is a combination of organic ingredients and beneficial microbes to help roots grow deeper and faster for bigger, more bountiful harvests. Garden Tone is simple to use and safe for people, pets, and the planet. No harmful chemicals or synthetic fertilizers are ever added. You can find Garden Tone at fine garden centers. Visit espoma.com to find a retailer near you. Garden Tone from Espoma, a natural in the garden since 1929.
If you're like me, then you absolutely love birds. The Bird Sanctuary at Bloomers Home and Garden Center has you covered. They're dedicated to the care and feeding of wild birds of all sorts. Want to bring more birds to your yard? Then you got to see this place. Bloomers has a huge flock of feeders, birdhouses, birdseed, and much, much more. Want to feed the birds and not the squirrels? They have this absolutely cool bronze bird feeder that will drive those sneaky squirrels nuts. They'll be moving to the next door neighbor in no time. OMG. Bloomers have these absolutely adorable birdhouses that will turn your yard into the perfect bird B&B. They carry all types of wild bird seed, suet, seed cakes, and mealworms. Bloomer stocks, Lyric, Coles, CNS, Pine Tree Farms, and much, much more that will keep those beautiful birds coming back for more. Bloomers Home and Garden Center is located in Washington Township in Gloucester County. For more information and directions, check them out on the web at bloomers.com. Bloomers Home and Garden Center, you got to see this place.
Welcome back to Bloomers in the Garden. So, are yellow flowers dotting your lawn? I'm telling you, somebody is going to get smart, and they're going to say, this is a native perennial, and they're going to pot up dandelions, and they're going to sell them for $17 a piece. But we know them as a weed, and they are frustrating because they occur the same time that you have to control crabgrass. So I'm just letting you know that, one, weed and feeds are not the best way to control dandelions. It's convenient because you're feeding your lawn, but the way that a weed and feed works is that all the particles have to stick. If you're looking on YouTube, I'm rubbing my hand, it has to stick on the surface of the leaf. If it doesn't stick on the surface of the leaf, it's not going to work. So if you put it down and it's windy, if you put it down and it's going to rain, it's not going to work. And a lot of times people say, oh, that stuff you sold me didn't work. And it's because they thought they had to water it in. Now, the crabgrass control that we were talking about in our previous segment, That you water in because it works differently. It's a pre-emergent, like we said. You water it in so that it creates a barrier in the soil to prevent the crabgrass from germinating. But once you have dandelions or plantain or clover or chickweed or a dozen or hundreds of other weeds, you're going to have to think about it differently. And if you apply a liquid, it coats that leaf better than those granules do. Now, look, if you're dialed in and you bought a step program or you have all these bags that you're supposed to bring home and now use, a weed and feed, you should like water the lawn first so that it sticks to the weed, or you go and do it in the early morning when there's a dew on the grass. But it honestly is not going to work as well as if you use a product that's from Bonide called Weed Beater Ultra. Weed Beater Ultra, you could put this down the same day you put your crabgrass control down. There's no fertilizer in it, so it's not going to conflict with that or burn your grass. It's a post-emergent, not a pre-emergent, so it's not going to really conflict with your crabgrass control. But what it will do is it will kill hundreds and hundreds of weeds that are existing. So what they'll do is they'll carry over from, like, let's say you had weeds in the fall, like dandelions, like plantain, like those weeds overwinter. Clover, oxalis. Oxalis are the ones that look like clover, but it has the yellow flower, not the white flower. Clover is the one that has a bigger leaf, that like the four-leaf clover, but has a white flower. So there's different types. Anyway, that this will control it. And the way that it works is you want to make sure that you do it on a still day. You don't want it to be windy because you don't want all of a sudden the wind to pick up some of the spray particles and hit your shrubs or hit any of your ornamentals, because it will kill them. So you have to be careful the way that you use it. And that you coat the leaf to the point where it runs off. And it's really an easy spray. And in the studio here, if you're looking on the YouTube channel, you'll see that I have a hose end sprayer. Okay, this hose end sprayer, the way that this works, and my gosh, it's so much easier than the way that it used to be. That the hose end sprayer works this way. You dial it up to say so for instance, I'm not exactly sure because I didn't go through, like say it's 2 ounces per gallon of water. And all you have to do is dial this dial to 2 ounces, and you pour the concentrate in to the sprayer. And then you have your hose, which is nice, is that this is the Chameleon hose end sprayer that I like very much because it comes with a detachable end, so you can attach this to your hose, and you can also go, and that way you don't need to have the hose pressure in the sprayer all the time. So it saves on, you've got things in here that have to stay tight and that it has to not leak. So that's a beautiful thing about this. So just keep that in mind, that the Chameleon hose end sprayer is a great hose end sprayer. So you've got it dialed in, 2 ounces per gallon. You have the concentrate, pour it into the little jar. I'm going to call it a jar. It's a plastic jar, if you will. And you tighten it up. Now, and the way that it works is that as the water passes through the top piece, it creates a suction. And based on what you dialed it to, it's drawing out 2 ounces of product for every gallon that passes through the sprayer. So it automatically mixes, and it doesn't mix in the jar. That stays concentrated. So when you're done and you have some left, you can pour it right back into the bottle carefully. I always say wear gloves. Make sure you're just not getting full full of chemicals. Or these things are not organic. They're if you want to get in a fight, anybody out there that says, "Oh, they're like corn gluten is a great weed control," it isn't. It's okay. It's the one alternative you have. It's like, what about vinegar? Well, vinegar will kill everything. So you want something that is a selective herbicide that's not going to kill your grass. And that's exactly what Weed Beater Ultra does. So if you have dandelions or you have other broadleaf weeds that have overwintered in your lawn, Weed Beater Ultra will control it. And you know how cold it's been? It's been cold. That it works when most others don't. So it will work when the temperatures are around 40 degrees or higher. So most others, it needs to be warm. It needs to be 50, 60 degrees. But this will work in early spring, and it's a great thing to do. Check off your day that you're going to put your crabgrass control down, and you can spray the Weed Beater Ultra right on top of the crabgrass control that you just put down, and it will not interact. And again, great product. Keep it around. If you find that you have weeds all of a sudden pop in, everybody's seen this. It's a commercial. There's a cute little kid, and he grabs one of the dandelion heads that have gone to seed, and they blow it, and all the seeds float around. Hate those kids. There's 15,000 seeds that can be produced by one dandelion plant. That means that you need to control that dandelion family now in your entire lawn. And I don't know, any of you have had neighbors where it's like, oh, there's that guy down the street. He's got the lawn with all the weeds. Well, you will too. You will too. So make sure you're using Weed Beater Ultra, and that will control the dandelions, the plantain, the clover, the chickweed, all of those weeds that you're seeing now and the ones that come later. So it's a great product. And you want to make sure that you use a hose end sprayer. And like I said, how it works, the water as it passes through creates suction, which draws the active ingredient through the sprayer at the rate that you dial it to. So again, 2 ounces per gallon, 6 ounces per gallon, 5 ounces per gallon, depending on what the product recommendations are for liquid. And there's one thing. Buy 2 hose end sprayers, one for weeds and one for insect control. So you've got an herbicide sprayer and you've got an insecticide sprayer. And that way you're not all of a sudden spraying herbicide on your plants because you're trying to kill insects, like say they're on your azaleas or on your petunias or on your vegetables. And then all of a sudden they're dying because you had residue from the herbicide. So 2 different sprayers, and make sure you label it. Take a Sharpie and mark it, weeds, insects, and then that way you'll always know that they're different. And that way it's safe for your plants. And again, it's Bonide Weed Beater Ultra, and it comes in both a concentrate and a ready to spray, like a pump sprayer. But honestly, buy the sprayer and the concentrate because you're going to use it throughout the season, because we do get those different weeds that come in at different times. And again, don't worry. You can spray it the same exact time as you put down your crabgrass control. Not liquid, but when you put down your granular early season crabgrass control and you're walking as I'm putting the crabgrass control, but I've got dandelions, you can use it with that. All right, if you've got questions about spraying anything, like if you have questions about hose end sprayer, how do I use it? How do I dial it? If you've got questions about Weed Beater Ultra being used with a granular crabgrass control, please call the hotline. That number is 609-685-1880. And we'll be right back right after this. Hi, this is Len Schroeder from Bloomers in the Garden. Do you have a landscape, garden, or plant question? If so, call or text us using the Bloomers in the Garden hotline. Dial 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. 1880. Don't be shy. We want to hear from you. Call or text us and let us know what problems you're facing. Let us know how we're doing. Call or text 609-685-1880. If we use your comment on the air, we'll send you a free Bloomers t-shirt. Call or text us at 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. And we'll see you in the garden. We are proud to announce that Bloomers in the Garden has partnered with Renewal by Andersen of Greater Philadelphia, Delaware, South Jersey, and Southern Maryland. Renewal by Andersen is the top window and door company in the United States, specializing in replacement windows and doors. You might be thinking right now, what the heck do windows have to do with gardening? Well, Renewal by Andersen makes this beautiful garden bay window that's energy efficient and made from recycled materials. It's perfect for growing the finest indoor plants possible. When you are looking out your windows filled with plants in your beautiful garden, you don't want to see old windows that are cloudy, warped, or even rotting. That's why people in the horticulture community love Renewal by Andersen. Not only do we want our gardens to be beautiful, but their homes as well. Renewal by Andersen participates in horticultural events such as flower shows, earth days, and eco fairs. To get more information and set up a free home consultation, please visit www.philadelphiawindow.com and be sure to tell them Bloomers in the Garden sent you.
Is she gone?
Nope, she's still standing there.
What is she doing?
I think she's watching the grass grow.
That's our job.
I know, right? She's watching the grass grow, the flowers grow. Ooh, look, the trees are growing.
Can't say as I blame her. Remember where she bought all this stuff?
Duh, bought us there too.
Bloomers Home and Garden Center. Find us online at bloomers.com.
Welcome back to Bloomers in the Garden. You know, azaleas are a spectacular plant. They're more dynamic than you might think. They come in different sizes and colors and varieties. Like, you may be used to the old style, and I hate to say old style because there's nothing else that looks like a beautiful evergreen azalea planted in the landscape. For instance, there are Hino Crimson, which is obviously a red. Stewartsonian is like a brick red. Tradition is pink. Blouse pink. Pocanensis is a purple. Gerard's fuchsia, it's like a purple. And Delaware Valley white, plus dozens others. The Gumpo variety is like a dwarf azalea. It doesn't get so a small mound. It only gets to be about 18, maybe 24 inches. It takes a while. PJMs are crossed between an azalea and a rhododendron, and it's not only has the early flowering, it's flowering right now, flower that comes out the first, but it flowers with forsythia. So if you have any forsythia that are blooming, you can mix those PJMs with that. It also has the benefit where in the fall, the leaf turns like a bronze color, and that holds all the way through late spring. And then it turns green for a while. It sends up some new growth, and it's a great plant. Now, one of the exciting things are reblooming azaleas. Now, I don't want to get you confused, but I have to say, this show we have talked about hydrangeas, and we have talked about the reblooming hydrangeas. We talked about old wood. Like, for instance, the evergreen azaleas that I named just a bit ago, they flower on their old wood. And that, I have to say also, we get it every year. People come, my azaleas don't bloom. How come my azaleas don't bloom? And I say, well, did you trim them back in the fall? Yeah. Well, you trimmed off all of the flowers. Now, the new series of azaleas, like the new series of hydrangeas, will not only bloom on their old wood, but after they put out a flush of growth, they'll actually set buds and they'll bloom on their new wood, so their new growth. So you'll get several cycles of blooming from Encore is the variety that we like the best. I know that Proven Winners is trying to get into the game, but the Encore ones are the ones we like, and it's because the way that they were bred was they were bred with a variety that was specifically meant to bloom in the fall. So it's not just something that you may get a spattering of blooms. In the fall, they look darn good. So it's not just And again, that's the Encore series. Now, those of you in our northern listening area, you got to be careful because they're only going to be good to zone 6. And you have to check the varieties. Go to your local garden center, talk with the nursery, see if it's safe to grow. If you're right on the edge of zone 6, and again, usually in our listening area, 5 is the coldest, 7 is the warmest. So zone 6, there's quite a few of us that can grow it. So anybody who's in zone 7 or I guess higher, or let's see, zone 6 or higher can grow them. And they're originally a southern plant. Like, Southern Living Magazine always does a spread on them about how great they are. And they are. They can take about 4 to 6 hours of sunlight. So they take the shade, but not dense shade. So just keep that in mind. Remember, the evergreen azaleas might be better for you if you have a shaded environment. And again, it will send out a series of different blooms. There's bright, cheery reds. There's pinks. There is white. There's a whole bunch of different varieties. And again, these are hybridized azaleas that are bred to do this. It's not like they just happened to find one. They actually went out to make this happen. Planting in spring, early summer, they according to Encore themselves, they said, if you can plant them in spring, it's best. Because if they're trying to establish, and again, they're in that warmer zone, that 6th zone, they would like to have a little bit of roots in the ground before they hit winter. So keep that in mind. And look, you need to think about them the entire season. A lot of folks, they will plant plants, and especially nursery plants, in their landscape. And what happens is that they said, oh, well, it looks pretty good. And then they get to, say, I don't know, the end of August, and it's alive, so we're just going to leave nature take care of it. Don't do that, especially with Encore azaleas. You want to have that root structure as deep into the ground as possible because, like, we had a cold winter. There were some days that it was, in the teens or lower. I mean, I think we had, I don't know, Aaron, we had it was 9 degrees, right? One time? Yeah. So it was cold. It was cold. And then in our northern areas, think about that. It was even colder than that. You're close to 0. And that is zone 5, not zone 6. So protecting them is a good idea. But again, when it goes below 25 degrees and you have young plants that have not established roots, you may be in trouble. And these are the type of plants that we guarantee are shrubs. Sometimes it's like, oof. Do I want to guarantee? Because I'm not guaranteeing the plant. The plant's good. It's going to grow. It's going to be great. I'm guaranteeing you to take care of it. So, and you don't want to waste your time planting them and everything else to find out all of a sudden it just doesn't thrive. So they're great plants, but it's up to you to make them thrive. And so how else do you do that? You need to do things like feed them. Hollytone is still the best thing to feed azaleas. And that, again, these Encore azaleas, I plan on putting in several Encore azaleas in the front of my house because I do love azaleas, and it's going to be fantastic because I had my landscape ripped out, and now I'm going to put in the Encore azaleas under the windows. And people say, they're still blooming? It's like, yes, they are. You should see my camellia over by my trash cans. Anyway, but again, Encore azaleas, look for them at your local garden center. And again, they're going to do well in zone 6, zone 7, zone 5, you're taking a risk. Zone 5, you're taking a risk because it depends. And it may live a couple of years, and then all of a sudden we get a really cold winter, and they're all of a sudden dead. And if you're wondering why, it's because, again, you just got lucky the first couple of years. One thing about azaleas is that they get an insect called lacebug, and you really can't see them because they're really tiny, 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 tiny. Now, the azalea leaves are green. Usually got a little luster, some depending on the variety. Sometimes they're a flat green. But if you look at your azaleas, and it looks like they have tiny, tiny little dots. I mean, small, microscopic, and that it's turning the leaves on the yellow side. So it looks like a greenish yellow. That's lacebug. I recommend everyone spray their azaleas. Just do it. Do it 3 applications, 7 to 10 days apart. Do it in spring so where it overlaps in summer, so you don't have to do it right away. You can do it sometime anywhere from, say, April, and then again 7 to 10 days apart, and then you're into late May. You can do it. I don't want you to do it in the summertime because, again, the summertime, it's going to be hot, and if you're spraying and it's above 85 degrees, you can hurt your plants. So you want to do it before we have sustained temperatures, summertime sustained temperatures. But 3 applications, 7 to 10 days apart, and the insect is lacebug. Your azaleas will never look better if you're spraying them. Think of it as like you've got to spray roses, right? So you have to spray your azaleas, and that they'll live, but they'll always be on the border of, is it ugly yellow when it doesn't have any flowers? You'll clean it up with the insect control, and you want to look for systemic. So that means it works its way through the plant and makes it poisonous to the insect. And again, that's lacebug. You want to control lacebug. So when you go to your local garden center next, ask, what do you have to control lacebug on my azaleas? They'll be happy because they know it will clean up a problem. People think that they throw more fertilizer on it. It's a fertilizer issue. And they're like, no, it isn't. It has lacebug on it. You have to control that. So just wanted to pass that along. If you've got questions, you know what to do. Call that hotline. That's 609-685-1880. By the way, I got called out. I didn't send a T-shirt out. We're waiting for the new ones to print. All right, so we haven't gotten them in. So if we answer your question on air, we will send you a T-shirt when they get there. All right, we'll be back in the garden right after this. Hi, this is Len Schroeder from Bloomers in the Garden. Do you have a landscape, garden, or plant question? If so, call or text us using the Bloomers in the Garden hotline. Dial 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. Don't be shy. We want to hear from you. Call or text us and let us know what problems you're facing. Let us know how we're doing. Call or text 609-685-1880. If we use your comment on the air, we'll send you a free Bloomers T-shirt. Call or text us at 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. And we'll see you in the garden.
Fertilome's Triple Action contains 70% neem oil and 0.25% pyrethrins as a concentrate and ready to spray. It is an insecticide, fungicide, and miticide labeled to use on vegetables, fruits, nuts, herbs, spices, and ornamentals. This organic OMRI-listed product controls a wide variety of insect pests and diseases, including aphids, scale, spider mites, whiteflies, rust, leaf spot, and powdery mildew. This insecticide is an all-in-one bottle that will cure just about any problem you may run into throughout the year. Fertilome's Triple Action has been helping gardeners across the country for years. Best to apply in late evening and early morning hours. Mix 1 ounce, which is equivalent to 2 tablespoons in a gallon of water. The best part is Triple Action may be used up to the day of harvest. So the next time you are visiting your favorite garden center, ask for Fertilome's Triple Action and expect to have the best-looking plants in the neighborhood.
If you're looking for a specific potting soil for your house plants rather than just a generic professional potting soil that sometimes, let's just say, it can be a little soggy, the Cape Netic Blend Organic and Natural Indoor Houseplant Mix from Coast of Maine is what you're looking for. It's specially formulated for indoor houseplants and flowers using a coarse coconut core That's important. Perlite and aged bark to optimize drainage and aeration for robust root development. The coconut core is what true gardeners and professionals are looking to replace some of the peat moss that are in most potting soil blends. It adds a little more air around the root system without having it dry out. The peat sometimes gets a little wet. Do you have any fungus gnats flying around? That happens too. So if you've got the coconut core in your mix, it's something that's going to be better certainly for indoor houseplants. So whether you're growing peace lilies, spider plants, philodendrons, monsteras, or other popular or exotic houseplants, this unique compost-free blend provides the optimum structure and benefits for nurturing strong, beautiful indoor plants. And again, that's the Cape Netic Blend Indoor Houseplant Mix by Coast of Maine. Look for it at your local garden center. Welcome back to Bloomers in the Garden. Hey, farmers plant many of their vegetable seeds directly in the soil. It's interesting because the lawn spreader that you have, and you pull the lever and it opens up the bottom. There are seeders that you put in the hopper, and it does the same thing based on the seed, and it will click, 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 put the seed in the ground right for you. Now, we had a call on the Bloomers in the Garden hotline from Jan, and she bought some seed, and they recommended putting it right in the soil, and she was a little bit perplexed. Here's what her text said. I have tomato seeds from Burpee. They are the kind that you can plant directly in the ground. Never tried it before, but have you heard of this? Thanks, Jan. Yes, I have. Yes, I have. But I still like starting seeds in cell packs or peat pots, or I'd like to get them started in there first, because the seed in the soil, sometimes things can go wrong. It can be really wet. It can be washed out. It can be missing. Like larger seeds like squash or cucumbers or beans or peas, any of those, absolutely put right into the ground, even watermelon, but not smaller seeds like tomatoes. And tomato seeds aren't that small, but it's still, I just like to see the plants grow and then be transplanted. And did you know that if your plants get overgrown, like unfortunately at Bloomers, there are times where we have tomatoes in pots and they end up in their little pots, but they're 4 feet tall. No, I'm exaggerating. They're probably about 2 feet tall, that you can plant that whole stem up to probably about, let's just say 4 inches from the first leaf. And that all along there, and sometimes you might see where there's bumps along the just above the soil line of where that tomato's been grown. Those are roots just waiting to come out. So you can put them in, but you can bury that stem. Now, if you're putting a seed in, you're kind of hoping that it's warm enough and it germinates enough. You can do it, but again, I love planting smaller seeds in packs or in cell trays so that you go and you can get them to come up there first, then transplant them in the garden. Just my preference. You need to get, obviously, cell packs or peat pots, but don't use regular potting soil. You want to use a seed starting soil, and that there are two good ones. One that we recommend is Coast of Maine Sprout Island Blend, and it's meant specifically to hold moisture around that seed, because all seed, whether it's grass seed, a vegetable seed, a flower seed, that there's a seed coat that protects that seed so that it doesn't get damaged, and that seed coat has to break down before it will sprout, and that it always sprouts the root first and then the top. And that's a lot of times why we say sometimes you need to winter seeding may not work in your lawn, and you got to make sure there's seed to soil contact, because what will happen is sometimes if you plant them too deep, they'll end up rotting in the ground. So you need that good seed starting soil. And again, Espoma has organic seed starter. Both are good. And if you use either one of those, you'll have success. So it's Coast of Maine Sprout Island Seed Starting Blend and the Espoma Organic Seed Starter. And that's what you're going to put in your pots or your cell packs, and that you're going to start your seed in those. And again, you're going to put anywhere between 2 and 4 seeds per hole. And after they germinate, you're going to need to thin them out. So you don't plant like a clump of tomato plants, because they'll compete and you won't have a good yield. What you do is you let them grow a little bit and you keep the strongest plants. And it's the same thing pretty much with everything. So again, you can try it in the ground. Hey, why don't you try that? Try half of them in the ground and half of them in the cell packs, and then transplant them, see which ones do better. I like that idea. And then you can call the hotline and let us know. That's 609-685-1880. So again, big seeds, put them in the ground. The smaller seeds, put them in a pack. We'll be right back, right after these messages. Hi, this is Len Schroeder from Bloomers in the Garden. Do you have a landscape, garden, or plant question? If so, call or text us using the Bloomers in the Garden hotline. Dial 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. Don't be shy. We want to hear from you. Call or text us and let us know what problems you're facing. Let us know how we're doing. Call or text 609-685-1880. If we use your comment on the air, we'll send you a free Bloomers t-shirt. Call or text us at 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. And we'll see you in the garden.
Dreaming of a gorgeous garden? Give your azaleas, rhododendron, blueberries, and evergreens a powerful boost with the #1 acid-loving plant food, Espoma Organic Hollytone. Hollytone is a perfect blend of natural, long-lasting ingredients that nourish plants for stronger roots, faster growth, and bountiful blooms. Plus, it's easy to use and safe for people, pets, and planet. Visit espoma.com for a retailer near you and helpful gardening tips. Espoma, a natural in the garden since 1929.
Your next houseplant is waiting for you in Bloomers Home and Garden Center's greenhouse. Bloomers recognizes that houseplant choices are as important to your interior decorating as the fabric on your couch. The right plant, paired with the perfect container, can bring a dynamic change to your home. A houseplant brings life to your world and connects your home's interior to the greater outdoors. Even a small succulent placed on your coffee table has a way of connecting your living room to the Amazon rainforest. How about an air plant in your kitchen? Looking for an indoor flowering plant to add color to your plant palette? Bloomers has a large revolving assortment of flowering beauties. From aglaonemas to ZZ plants, Bloomers Greenhouse is stocked with your next favorite indoor plant. Bloomers carries a large selection of pottery and containers to match your home's decor and make any of your plants more beautiful. Bloomers experts can help you care for your plants and have the fertilizer, insecticides, leaf shine, and specialty soils you need to grow healthy and happy indoor plants. Visit Bloomers Home and Garden Center's greenhouse and make every room in your home a living room. Visit bloomers.com for more information. That's bloomers.com, and we'll see you in the garden. Welcome back to Bloomers in the Garden. So here comes Peter Cottontail hopping down the bunny trail. Well, all right, it may not be Peter Cottontail, but it's Professor Steve bopping down 95 from Florida to New Jersey. The professor called the Bloomers in the Garden hotline with an update. Here's his call.
Good morning, Len. It's the professor. And I just heard your final broadcast today about planting day and everything when it's safe to plant, and hear that it's freezing up there. So I'm just trimming my lemon trees and some of my orange trees. I'll be back there this Saturday, back in New Jersey, the Garden State. I'll bring you some grapefruits of mine and some nice oranges. And I sure hope that you have some creeping phlox left, because every year when I come back, I can't get them because they're out of sales. they're not blooming, so nobody wants to sell them, and they don't put them out like you said. And I need at least 15. So if you could put away 15 this week for me, I'll pick them up Saturday. And can't wait to get home to see you guys. Take care and warm up. This is the professor. Goodbye.
Warm up. We're trying. We're trying. But so you're trimming your citrus, huh? Well, maybe time. We have a lot of people that are growing citrus as houseplants, and that you got to time that trimming inside. They should be blooming, or should have started blooming. I know that I have a lemon that's blooming, so leave them alone. Let them set fruit. Steve's not going back to Florida, I don't think, but evidently I'm getting some grapefruit. Well, hopefully Steve's going to come in today. I put 15 mountain pinks aside for you. If you want blue, or you want white, or you want the variegated one, I'm putting away pink. So there's 15 mountain pinks with your name on it. So, but I hope you brought that warm weather. Oh my gosh, it has been so cold. And that the good thing is for Professor Steve, some of the plants that normally we would have out are delayed. Perennials, I went out this week to a couple of our growers, and the perennials that you would think that you would see, like maybe even have budded, like coneflower, it's a little early, rudbeckia, but it was gaillardia, blanket flower. Gaillardia was just buds, no color at all. So we didn't miss it. So if you're wondering about the gardening season, like Steve said, that he usually misses the mountain pinks, they're held back a little bit compared to other years. Last year, I did check on our temperature-wise. It was 72 degrees and last year around this time. And, we're going to have a few nice days coming up, and it's not going to be as cold at night. But, boy, we had some night temperatures this past week that were brushing close to freezing, and that is slowing everything down. So if you're wondering about your garden, you don't see things that normally are budded, just relax. They're coming out of dormancy slow. Some of the customers, like we offer a 1-year guarantee, they come in and they say, I want this replaced. And they're not dead. They're just still dormant. Like, for instance, lilacs and some of the Korean lilacs, they just are looking like sticks right now. Some of the Woodgelia are looking like sticks right now. Spirea is definitely dormant. So be patient. Let the weather catch up with your plants, and you'd be surprised. One thing that I did have the discussion with one of our nursery guys, and it's everything's going to bloom at one time. And where a lot of times it goes in progression because of sunlight requirements, a lot of the perennials are all of a sudden going to be like, bam, everything's in bloom. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing because you get to see it in color. But normally it would be called into bloom. We'll be back in the garden right after this. Hi, this is Len Schroeder from Bloomers in the Garden. Do you have a landscape, garden, or plant question? If so, call or text us using the Bloomers in the Garden hotline. Dial 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. Don't be shy. We want to hear from you. Call or text us and let us know what problems you're facing. Let us know how we're doing. Call or text 609-685-1880. If we use your comment on the air, we'll send you a free Bloomers t-shirt. Call or text us at 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. And we'll see you in the garden. Coast of Maine's Organic Castine Blend Organic Raised Bed Mix is the best soil for raised bed gardens, planter boxes, and container gardens. It grows amazing vegetables. It is made with a mixture of manure compost, worm castings, lobster and kelp meal, mycorrhiza, green sand, and biochar. It's ready to use straight out of the bag with no need for additional components or tilling. If you love growing fresh and hearty vegetables, herbs, and flowers, Coast of Maine's Castine Blend Organic Raised Bed Mix is the perfect choice for you. At Coast of Maine, we believe in growing organically and buying locally. You're listening to Bloomers in the Garden Radio. Listen anytime through your favorite podcast provider or see and hear us by subscribing to Bloomers YouTube channel. Bloomers in the Garden Radio is heard in Philadelphia and throughout the whole Delaware Valley every Saturday. First, wake up with us at 6 a.m. on WNWR The Word at 95.3 FM and 1540 AM. Tune in at 8 a.m. to Bloomers in the Garden Radio on Talk 860 WWDB. A rebroadcast of Bloomers in the Garden Radio is played each Saturday evening at 5 p.m. on The Word, 95.3 FM and 1540 AM. On Sunday at 8 a.m., we can be heard throughout the New York tri-state area on Classic Oldies, 1250 AM WMTR. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the garden. Welcome back to Bloomers in the Garden. So today's show, you've got some things to do. Again, you need to find dimension crabgrass control and get it down. You need to get it down now. You have time for the dandelion control, but again, you're going to do a second application. So if you usually have like a 5,000 square foot lawn and that bag will do it for the crabgrass control, get a 10,000 square foot bag so that way you can put it down now and then put it down again and you'll save a little bit of money because you're buying a bigger bag. You know, what did Professor Steve mean? You know, our final show. You better watch that. No, it was our final show of the day. So because we're on several times during the day, on the weekend. Let's see what else we got. You got your azaleas. Spray for the lace bug on your azaleas. You will be very happy with the results. And make sure you're feeding them Hollytone. I want to wish everybody a happy Easter. I hope everybody's getting together with family and enjoying the holy day. And the next time you visit your favorite garden center, greenhouse, or nursery, tell them that you listen to Bloomers in the Garden. And that again, thanks, TJ. Good job. Aaron, thank you as always. And we'll be back next week at the same time, and we'll see you in the garden.